What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the review and discussion for UnOrdinary, episode 293. Now, just want to go ahead and jump right into this episode right now, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, episode officially starts when in Blake's room as Blake is finishing up a homework assignment, and he thinks on what could have happened with John and Sarah, speculating that they don't have their abilities back at the moment. But they clearly got into a fight based on the damage to his pants, but John and Sarah don't have a scratch on them. Clearly, we know that they don't have scratches on them because they got healed up from Doc, and they spent a few days recovering from since they last saw Blake and Ison. So, yeah, but Blake clearly doesn't know that, and he's just like, what is going on? How did they get this far? Meanwhile, in John's room, it seems like he's reading the manuscript that William gave to him, as he's kind of seen like looking through some of the pages, and then he closes it up. Still thinking on how Blake and Remy could have gotten a copy of UnOrdinary, stating that the only ones ballsy enough to keep a copy are vigilantes. He then reflects on what Blake told him back at Rowden Park about visiting other districts, and what Remy said about not trusting the authorities, and if you know too much, you'll end up on their watch list. You will be the one to end up on the authorities' watch list when they were going out to dinner. So he begins reflecting on all that. In the morning, John wakes up and gets out of his room and sees Blake about to head to school. And John just straight up asks if they are vigilantes. And Blake relents and just kind of says there's no point in keeping things hidden, but he offers John a deal that they will tell them that what they, the trio, Remy, Blake, and Ison, have been up to, so long as John and Sarah fill them in on what's going on with Spectre. Honestly, very fair deal, incredibly fair deal, and everyone's working together, and I really like that. Everyone's gonna start seemingly working together, so that's cool. I really like that. After school, Ison and Remy swing by Blake's dorm room as Ison is reprimanding Remy for reading UnOrdinary, for not only reading the book, but also leaking that they had a copy to John. Now, as they walk into Blake's room, and they then agree to share their information with each other, John asks them to go first, but Blake is just like, hey, you lost my suit and my pants. Fuck you, you go first. It's kind of funny because this banter honestly kind of reminds me of Blake and Ison at the very beginning of the series, when like Ison punched Blake through a wall just for breaking his pen. So a little friendly banter, and I kind of feel like this is like John and Blake are a little bit more chummy now, but you know, there's not too much there, honestly. That I'm kind of headcanoning a bit, but Sarah then fills them in about Spectre and that they were trying to steal the recovery device, but ultimately they got found out by one of the higher-ups, and John ended up destroying the recovery machine. Ison asks how they had a hard time even with half of their power, and John brings up the ability converters to everyone, telling them that the two Spectre agents they fought had some kind of Phantom Claw ability, and he also mentions that it originated from Next Gen, and after which he also mentions that it gave them an extra ability. Remy immediately thinks of the time she confronted Arlo about Valerie's ability, piecing together that she also had to have been using ability converters, and she mentions to the group how Ember is able to hide by using the same Flameclaw abilities on their victims instead of the abilities of the actual agents. So, you know, clearly Vulcan not using her barrier variation, as Arlo would put it. John asks how they encountered Ember when the authorities haven't been able to do anything about them. And Sarah, now I was kind of thrown off by this because I was like, I feel like John should have connected the dots by now, but Sarah then thinks to herself about how John still hasn't been brought up to speed on this. And it's true, he hasn't been. He didn't want to hear it back then when they tried to tell him because he was busy being mean. But, so yeah. So Blake and Ison then catch catch him up to speed on the connection between Ember and the authorities and how the superhero movement got started. Blythe basically just tells him, like, yeah, the authorities and Ember, like, they're working together. And Eisen kind of just tells him, like, yeah, like they started, like, superheroes, like, after UnOrdinary came out, superheroes started getting popular because lower tier districts were finally getting support that they should have been getting from the get-go. The authorities didn't like that, so they started going after the popular ones and basically saying, like, hey, don't do this, people. It's bad. It's bad news. So Remy then drops a reveal to John after he asks, like, why are you guys doing this then? And Remy says Ray was ecstatic, which John reflects on what he said to her, thinking back to the time he told her, your brother can go to hell for all I care. And John knows about ecstatic because like I mentioned in the reaction, that was one of the people that I'm pretty sure that it was Ecstatic's death that was on the news when John and Sarah went to Woba Boba all that time ago. And John was really upset at how Sarah was reacting. So, he reflects on, like, how he treated Remy before and what he said about Ray, and he begins shaking a bit. John doesn't necessarily apologize this episode. I am still kind of hoping that he does apologize to Remy because he really should. And I don't think that's unnecessary for John's growth. I think maybe it's not 100% necessary, but I think it would still definitely show that, like, more and more of John reflecting on his actions and trying to make amends for that. I mean, John has done so with Sarah. He tried to do it with Claire. He did it for Adrian as well. And he's starting to do that with Blythe too. And I think him saying sorry to Remy for saying that about Ray, I think he should definitely do that. Just like how Remy should reflect on Alana's death. So, Remy then asks if the two of them can keep the fact that they have the copy of UnOrdinary a secret, and Sarah says, hey, no problem, because if we did that, we'd be snitching on ourselves too. Because they both read it. John then tells the group that he bought a copy when it came out, before it got banned, and let Sarah borrow it. And then Sarah tells them that's why she got suspended, because she got caught with the copy of the book. Now, real quick, I am pretty sure that I brought this up before. I guess it's not 100% impossible that John bought a copy, but John's dad wrote the book and John was reading it before it came out. Like, we saw that. He's most likely lying to once again save his father's face, save face for William. Now, yeah, honestly, I don't think that Remy would hold it against John or William for Ray's death, because Remy started reading the book herself and Remy just said it's a good book. So, yeah, I do think that, everyone should the other three, the trio should piece together, oh, wait, W.H. Doe. John's last name is Doe, and his dad's first name begins with W. John, your dad wrote UnOrdinary. And also, there's the written to my son in the intro as well. So, yeah, I feel like they should definitely piece together that William wrote UnOrdinary. Still say that. Doesn't matter. Let's continue. So, Blythe asks how long they have their abilities back, and John tells him for about till the end of the week. Remy mentions that the device they destroyed can't be the only one with the amount of high tiers that they have under their command, that there has to be another one, even if it's not close. Then Eisen asks if they have a connection that would know where another one is, and Sarah says someone does come to mind, and we cut to Caden at school at Wellston University with Kuyo. I don't think that Sarah was thinking about Caden. She was probably thinking about Sarah because she was probably thinking about Layla because, Layla did mention to John and Sarah that she works under director Neil. And Neil is down with, help taking down Oren. He thinks that Oren is going way overboard with everything. So, yeah. But we cut to Caden and Kuyo, and they're celebrating a major grade on a test. And Kuyo then offers to go out for drinks to celebrate the occasion. That's where we end. And honestly, I want to give this episode a level 8 too, just like episode 292. these two episodes really play off of each other very well, and I do like that things are getting out in the open amongst the group. The only person who's not getting caught up to speed right now is Arlo, and I did make my question of the day for this reaction. Do we think that they're going to bring Arlo up to speed? Now, they may try, but Arlo may not want to hear it, and it's probably also going to be a bad idea to bring Arlo up, considering that he is fairly set in stone and he wants to kind of dissuade all this stuff in general. And Arlo has no reason to trust. No one has any reason to trust Spectre right now. But telling Arlo, he may try and get the authorities involved as well, especially since he has a connection. And Arlo doesn't want the rest of them bringing him down anymore. So, yeah. We're going to have to wait and see to what episode 294 brings us on Wednesday. Today, for when this video is coming out. But, yeah. That will be it. This episode is definitely a level 8. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. And as always, see you, Space Cowboy.